Morning all, it's Thursday morning, got my coffee and we're off to go and service a load and shovel. Oh, I haven't got my nice little orange lights on. Someone commented asking us what the orange lights were for. It's a little bit of ambience when I'm driving in the dark. So I've gone and service this load and shovel. It's in a sand quarry and shouldn't be too bad. They've normally got a little bit of shed space that I can kind of get at least half of the machine into. The weather's not looking too tremendous today, so we might stay dry, but to one of them might not, so we'll just see. There's somebody coming down that way in the yard. Huge yard, and they load all the wagons right in the middle, and there's telehandlers and forklifts floating about. I don't know. Right, I've got to go and get diesel first, so we'll do that, spend a fortune, and then I'll meet you over at this shovel. It's only half hour away, so it's not too bad. Hi, I'm at the sand quarry and I'm going to service this. It's just a 500-hour service. It's got the 5-cylinder Scania engine in it, and it's got a boom suspension fault. Well, the fault is that the boom suspension doesn't work at all, but up in there, that is the boom suspension accumulator, which I suspect has probably failed. You've also got round the corner here, that's the boom suspension valve. So what you can do is go through the dash and set the boom suspension activation to 0 miles an hour. Check the power to the solenoid valve, which is on that valve that I've just showed you. If I've got power to that, then chances are it'll be the accumulator, because what I found, when it's the valve, when the boom suspension's activated, the arm drops slowly. So that's my method of thinking anyway. That's what I found in the past. That's my experience with it. Also, I'll just jump up into the machine and have a bit ratch about. So what I'm going to do is go into the operator menu, and you can activate the LIS vehicle speed settings. So that's the speed at which the boom suspension is activated. So what I'm going to do is set that all the way down to 0 miles an hour and then enter that. So that's set now. So when I press the boom suspension button here, you should see the arm drop and sort of float a bit. So we'll have a look. That's it pressed now. Now I did feel a bit of a clunk, as though the activation valve, which I showed you before, has worked. So the arm didn't drop and sort of cushion. So I think the accumulator is worn out. So what I'll do is I'll set the machine up. It's a bit of an awkward thing to get to. The accumulators are placed in different positions depending on the model of the machine. I'm going to set this arm up like so it won't drop, and then I'll take the plate off the front of the machine and see what it's like for access. This one's not too bad. I know on the 420 shovels the accumulator's sort of right down in the guts there, and you have to take the belly plate off to get at it, and it's actually not much fun to do, but this one doesn't look too bad. So I've got 4 M8 bolts that hold it on, and a big pipe at that far end which I'll be able to get through the centre joint, and that should just slide right out this way, and we'll put the new one on and try it. Shouldn't be too bad at all, this. So I've set the machine up slightly different. I've turned it full lock to the left, and that just gives me a bit more space in this centre joint to get that pipe up there. Yeah, that'll be the hardest bit, just getting that pipe off, but I don't think it'll be too bad at all, to be fair. So the only thing is I'll probably get a good smear of grease on my shoulders working in here, but I will not complain. Weather's dry. I'm down in this hole as well, so there's not as much wind. It's a bit of a windy day today. That's my new accumulator, so get on with it now. Right, there's the old accumulator, and if I come round this way, that's the new accumulator fitted, and as expected, covered in grease. Marvellous. Right, we'll go and try it, shall we? Yeah, I've definitely tightened everything up, so we should be good to go. Remember, I've still got the speed setting in the dash. To activate the soft ride, it'll come on as soon as I press that button. We'll just start it up. Lift the arm up. Good, the arm's not dropping, so if I press this button here, you should see, hopefully, everyone fingers crossed, that arm should drop, but sort of drop onto a sort of cushion, so to speak. Yeah, you see how it's sort of spongy now? That's not just the tyres making it do that. What I'll do now is I'll reset the speed in the dash back up to about 3.5 miles an hour. I'll go and get a bucket full of sand and have a run across the quarry. I have a bucket full of sand on now, so if I drive forward, that arm should float, which it is. I promise you now, that is definitely working. I'll turn it off, go down this hill, and I bet you, let's see. Oh yeah, it's definitely, it's definitely a different ride when you haven't got it switched on. Right, tip this out, and 500-hour service. So I'll show you, now that we've sorted that fault, I'll explain to you how the LIS system works, load isolation system. So this is your loader arm with your bucket on. You've got your loader arm ram, and as you're travelling along, this ram is wanting to push the oil out of here because of gravity, and if you're below 3.5 miles an hour or whatever you've set to through the dash, that oil has got nowhere to go, so it's stopped. So that then makes, so the movement of the boom then transfers through the tyres and then transfers through you in the seat, and it makes it pretty uncomfortable. So once you've reached, in this case, 3.5 miles an hour, the oil has got somewhere to go. The LIS valve opens and allows the oil from the bottom of that ram to go into this chamber here in the accumulator. The accumulator has got a big spring inside. It's also got nitrogen gas with a sealed plate here. So when the oil's coming into here, it's pushing against that spring and the gas, and the oil is allowed to sort of move freely in and out of there like that. And that's what gives you your boom suspension. So when I went into the cab earlier, I set the LIS speed to 0 and then activated the LIS. I heard a clunk, which is the solenoid allowing the oil out of the ram and through into the accumulator. Now normally when you hear that clunk, you get a little nod like that of the boom, but in this case it didn't happen. So either the accumulator's bottomed out and this whole chamber's full of oil, or it's already full of oil. Either way, the arm didn't move. So other possible scenarios is if there wasn't an audible clunk, I would then get my multimeter out, activate it through the dash, check that I've got power to the solenoid here, and if I haven't got power to the solenoid here, then I've got an electrical problem. If I've got power to the solenoid here, then I've got a problem with the valve inside the LIS valve here. So that's how it works. That was my methodology of determining whether or not it was the accumulator. And I sort of, when the customer phoned me to book the service in, could you have a look at the boom float? It's not working. I asked him those questions. So when you turn the boom float on, does the arm do a little nod? And he said no. And I said, when you turn the LIS valve on, can you hear a little clunky noise? And he says, yeah, I think so. So I took the precaution of ordering one of those and fetching it along with me, with a sort of 60-70% chance that it was going to be that. So there we go. Right, 500 hour service now on this 350 shovel, and that'll be it done. This has got the DC9 scan your engine in it, which is a 5-cylinder, so the engine oil capacity isn't just as much. I think it's about 36 litres. I've already filled one drum, but yeah, it's just going to be engine oil, filter, 3 fuel filters, and brake pilot filter, which I always look forward to doing on these Dash 5s because it's way in the back of there, isn't it? Where's it gone? Oh yeah, it's down there, that orange thing there. So that's fun. And then the drive shaft's a bit of grease, and just a general check over after that. So I'll let that run out and go and grab my filters. It's funny, when I put a YouTube video on and the thumbnail has got load and shovel in, it doesn't just get as many views. Well, not as many views straight away anyway. It would appear that the excavators grab the viewers rather than the load and shovels, which is odd because most of the load and shovels are quite big. You'll have noticed a lot on the, from what you've seen on the channel, that I think the biggest digger we've been to is that DX300 that other week. Just to do with the sort of area that I cover, really. It's mainly forestry and construction. Engine oil filter. Just get my filter pliers on there and whiz it off. There we go, new filter on, and pop that into there. Oh look, I've spilt a bit. There we go. Screw that down. We're finished on this side. Everything else now is on the van side. Always try and set up the van so that I'm not trailing about too much. It's amazing how much time you save having the van plaque close to the machine. It does just save a bit of time. Get them on there one-handed. There we go. Right, although I'm finished in here, I'll not shut everything up until I've started the machine. I have had it before where that seal has nipped and it's ran the engine oil out, and what a mess it makes. There goes the old 420. Loving it. It's a nice quiet spot, this. No hassle at all. Oh, right. Now for my favourite filters. The pepper pots. That's what I call them. Remember last time we had a right fight on that shoal in the Lake District. Hopefully this one will be fine. It will be fine, won't it? Won't it? I can't remember if I've mentioned it before, but this filter arrangement here, when you take this filter out first, the unfiltered diesel on the outside of the filter then passes through into this chamber here, and then you pull that filter out and you've got unfiltered diesel in there. So it's always good practice. I use this and pump all the fuel out of there into here. So I've got no unfiltered fuel, gonna go straight into the high pressure fuel pump there. So that's what I do. Right, I've got to get this new filter out. Do this one-handed maybe. So put the new filter in. Now I need two hands. Hang on. Right, new filter's in. Screw that down. The way the fuel system works on these shovels, the Scania engines, Scania didn't want Doosan putting their water in fuel filter before their engine. So the way the fuel works, it comes straight from the tank into here, through their filters, into their high pressure fuel pump, and then when the fuel comes back, the water in fuel is filtered there. Now me personally, I've never come across a Scania engine that has had water through it with damaged injectors or anything like that. So it obviously works, but it just seems a bit counterintuitive to filter the water out of the fuel after it's gone through the engine. But there we go, I've managed not to spill a drop in the van. There's me new water and fuel filter fitted anyway. Yeah, I've had there's a few comments about me use of, well, not negative comments or out like that, just I suppose suggestions on what to use to take filters off. Like I say, I've always used these. It's not those ones, it's these ones. I always use those to get filters off. I've got all sorts of choices. Go in my tool have a look. I've got filter strap, I've got these doodads here. I've got, what else have I got? Filter strap, I've got them. I've got a filter chain somewhere, I can't remember where I put it because I use it that little. Is it in this one? Oh, this is a messy drawer, don't look. Got a filter chain. And there's also, where is it? Is it this drawer? Got that as well. That's for taking like the glass balls off, but I never use it. I just always get away with me pliers. I've never really struggled that much that I felt the need to invest in anything else. So it suits me. It's always done it. So right, Same as last time then, just pump away on this. In fact, that isn't even plumbing. It's stuck. I'm gonna have to take that apart now. There we go, I've got it working now, and you can see if I pump it a bit, you can see all the air bubbles coming out. This one's gonna be well behaved, I think. Happy days. So when those air bubbles stop, I know that that filter assembly is full, and then I'll just put it onto that bleed screw there and bleed the rest through to the pump, and it should start without a fight, hopefully. Oh, what a nice change. Right, so I'm just getting prepared now to change that brake pilot filter, which looks like this. And these 350s, you can take that plate off there and get at it. But you can also, I'm going to need to take the belly plate off this anyway to grease the drive shaft. So what I always do first is let the air out the tank, and it doesn't push any more oil onto me than it needs to. Let all that out. Then we'll climb down underneath, drop the belly plate down, which on this one is on hinges, so it's not too bad. And that's my drain trays there, so I'll join you underneath here. Right, I'll grab this. That's my filter there. And catch as much oil as I can. Right, that's all the filters changed. Oh no, I've got a cab filter to change yet. But no, I've got a drive shaft here for the back axle. That'll be to grease, and then I've got the main shaft through the centre. That's to grease, and there's a short shaft from a sort of carrier bearing to the front axle to grease as well. So I'll go and get my grease gun now. Another thing I'll point out as well, the grease nipple there on that UJ as well. I've been really lucky that just the way I've parked it up, the pointing down the way, sometimes it can be up in there and you have to kind of roll the machine forward, stop it, get out, have a look. But yeah, these UJs want to be greased, and if I don't do it, I don't know whether an operator would do it. And yeah, it'll be for me to repair any damage that occurs if that UJ was to fail and this shaft was to come away and smash transmission housings or something like that. So it's in my interest more than anybody else's interest to make sure that I keep everything greased and in good condition. So that's all the grease points done. It's only the drive shafts that are needing greased because it's got auto lube, so everything else should be well greased. I will have a quick scan round just making sure that everything looks as though it's getting grease when it should do. So yeah, all that's left to do now put some engine oil back in it and give it a run up. Right, that's it parked up, all done, no oil leaks. So head back to the yard now and get rid of this waste oil, and I think I'll treat the van to a wash as well. Morning all, it is Friday morning, 8:30, and I've just left the yard. I've just called in for a Friday treat. So I'm heading down at the Lake District today to go and see a DX160 high track working in some forestry. So it'll be a nice drive down there. The weather's good at the moment, but apparently it's going to be wet later on today, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, this will be my last job before I go on holiday, hopefully, if all goes well. So yeah, let's go and get on with it, shall we? So I've made it down to the Lake District. It's a nice day, but it is very, very windy, so I'll just do this bit from inside the cab. This 160 high track, the auto idle isn't working, so I'm going to investigate why the auto idle isn't working on this digger. So we'll jump in the cab. So what I mean by auto idle, for those of you that don't know what auto idle is, auto idle, when you are working the machine, or when you stop working the machine, the engine RPM drops down to idle, and then when you lift your levers up, the engine revs up automatically. So that isn't working on this machine. It's not necessarily an urgent thing, because obviously you can disable the auto idle and just rev it up and down on the engine speed dial. So what I'm going to look for first is the auto idle pressure sensors, see if they're getting a reading of the pilot pressure, because it's pilot pressure that brings the auto idle on. So I'm into the service menu now. What I'm going to do is go to monitoring. I'm going to go to vehicle analog, and I can see all the pressure sensors here. In actual fact, I can see the lack of pressure sensors. So the engine's running. Normally these pump pressures, I should be seeing sort of standby pressure and my PX and PY pressure. So my PX pressure is the top half hydraulic pilot pressure, and the PY pressure is the treble pilot pressure. And as you can see, none of these are reading anything at the minute. And if I just work the machine, see the arms going up there, none of the pressure sensors are reading anything. Bang. Right, so next, if I come out of here, I mean, I did this, could have done this first, I suppose. We'll have a look in the real-time error codes, and yeah, we have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 6 error codes, and they're all pressure sensors, voltage below normal. So voltage below normal to the pressure sensors. All those pressure sensors, they haven't got a voltage basically. So I need to investigate why they haven't got a voltage. So I'll jump back in the van, bring up a wiring diagram, and look at all those pressure sensors there. And the chances are they might all get the same live. So we'll see where it gets the same live from. It might just be something like a fuse. We'll have a look. So my overload warning pressure sensor, the power is a green wire. That also feeds the pump pressure sensors, and then it comes down here and down here. So we'll follow where that goes. So my green wire goes all the way around here, and it feeds the thumb wheels, left and right thumb wheels on the joystick. So we'll go and see if they're working next. And then it goes into plug number 1, pin number 20 on the EPOS. But this green wire doesn't go anywhere near the auto idle pressure sensors. So I'll find the auto idle pressure sensors and see where they get the power from. So there I've got a green and red wire that goes to the other auto idle pressure sensor. It also comes along here and feeds the pressure sensor for the boom up and feeds the pressure sensor for the arm crowd. So if I follow that wire along here, so that wire comes across here, across the EPOS so to speak, and onto the green and red wire, which feeds the engine control dial and goes into the EPOS at plug number 1, pin number 19. Now, I know that my engine control dial is working, so there must be a broken wire after here. So there'll be a splice somewhere or a wire broken somewhere after the engine control dial. So I'll go and get a look at that, and I'll also go and see if my joystick levers are working. So we'll go and have a look at that now. So what we've seen from the wiring schematic is it feeds this engine control dial, which is working. And like I say, it also feeds this thumb wheel here. So I put it into two-way and we can go into the screen. There we go. Scroll to monitoring, vehicle analog, and we'll go to the outputs. And if I rock it, I need the pilot lever up, hang on. Nearly got us caught out there. If I rock it, we're getting a signal out of the EPOS on both sides. Obviously my rotate, which is here, I haven't got rotate lines on it, so there's nothing going to be on the outputs there. So knowing that that works and that works inside the cab, it's looking like the fault is going to be outside of the cab. Marvellous. So knowing what we know now then, all the faults are outside of the cab, outside of the machine. So I'll put the machine cross carriage and take the belly plate off underneath the cab where the cab harness plugs into the rest of the machine harness, and I'll see if I've got power coming out at the plug. If I have, then that might make it easier, because the sensors are sort of littered right around the machine. It'll only go so far before it splits off, and hopefully it'll just be in the shorter piece of harness that I need to cut open and have a look. Right, I am one jammy bugger. It's Friday and I've found my problem. I'll show you on the machine just now, but I'm not just sure what the audio will be like when I come and edit the video, because it is proper windy outside. But if nothing else, I'll mute the audio and I'll point at what the problem is. Okay, bear with us. So I was going to show you this once I'd checked them, but I've been in the back of here checking the front and rear pump pressure sensors, just sort of having a look at the wiring, looking for any kinks and nips and out like that. And then I thought, right, this looks from a glance okay. I'll go and check the sensors on the valve chest. So I went upstairs, took the belly plate off, and I'll show you what happened next. So as I took the belly plate off and headed down to have a look at my pressure sensors, one of which is there, the other one is below it, I noticed this down here, look. Now I've separated those pins and they were all sort of bunched up and touching one another. So I think we've come across the problem, which is tremendous really, isn't it? So I'll try and refit those pins back into the plug and pull a bit more wiring through, because obviously they've been pulled. So we'll have a go at that now. So I've been really lucky. I've got the plug back together. I've given the wires a good pull. They don't seem to have broken the clips out of the plug. So I'll pop that back on, give it a wiggle. I've rerouted that wire from, it sort of came round this way, so I've routed it underneath instead. That's given us a little bit more slack, so it's not as tight. And yeah, we'll just give it a go now. Right, here we go then, we'll give it a try, shall we? So start it up. I'll rev it up, look. Nothing happens. Lift the pilot lever up. Pick up the beam. There we go. Sorted. So I'll just check the pressures now. Make sure they're all reading. Monitoring. There you go, analog. There we go, they've all come back, look. Like magic. Goodness me. Yeah, you can be lucky sometimes, come across something like that. What I'll do though, I'll park this back up now. When I get back into the van, I'll show you how I would have continued to find that fault had it not been something nice and straightforward for a change. Okay? So had I have not found one of the wires or multiple wires pulled out of a plug, what I was going to go on to do was, well, I'll explain to you first how it looks in my head. So it's a bit like a tree. You've got the EPOS and you've got the live coming out, and it goes to your rev dial in the cab, it goes to your joysticks, and then it leaves the cab. So I knew that these were working, and then it comes out of the cab to your auto idle pressure sensor, boom pressure sensors, pump pressure sensors, etc. So what I was going to do is I was going to check continuity between that one and that one. If I've got continuity between that one and that one, I'll then check continuity between that one and that one. I'll then check continuity between that one and that one, until I find that there's no continuity between the sensors. Now I expected that if all the sensors are offline, the brake has got to be between the cab and the first sensor, but I don't know on the wiring loom where the first sensor comes off from. So I was sort of working my way backwards, checking continuity until I found, you know, which part of the loom there might have been a brake, because although this pressure sensor might be near the plug, it might go off, and then this spare might come up round here and then come back down. And yeah, that was my game plan anyway. But as you've seen, we've got to the bottom of it, and it was a nice easy fix. So right, I'm gonna have a spot of lunch, and well, I'll pack up and I'll nip round the other side of the hill, because the view over the other side of the hill is absolutely tremendous. There we go. That'll do nicely for a lunchtime stop, I think. Fantastic. It's definitely the perk of the job, working in an area like this. On a day like today, it is absolutely spot on. And you know, you're up on this fell side, not a soul about. Yeah, it's tremendous, really good. Right, all good things must come to an end, I suppose. I'm going to head back up to Carlisle. I've just finished my lunch. Next week, I am on holiday next week, and what I should have done was save up some bits and pieces and put a couple of videos out while I was on holiday, but didn't think on, did I? So I do apologise for that. But yeah, while I'm away, what I do is I divert my number to Castle Douglas, and they'll sort of deal with my area while I'm off. And I'm sure when I get back, there'll be a list of jobs to do. So thankfully I've got caught up this week. All I've got left to do is that fuel gauge, and obviously the guy's away, so we'll get that the following week. And yeah, it's nice to go on holiday without any sort of loose ends to tie up, so it's all good. Right, we'll leave it at that for today. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button for more bits and pieces throughout the week. Head over to Ali's Digger Diary over on Instagram. Have a good weekend, everyone, and look after yourselves next week while I'm away. Don't do out daft, and see you the week after next. Ta-ra.